All right, the Reds, Tuesday's Talking Reds. I'm pleased to be joined today by Melissa Reddy. Melissa Reddy with a new job. Melissa Reddy, how's the new job going?
It's going quite well. It's taking a lot, getting used to not doing day-to-day, but working on longer projects, but it's exciting, a new challenge.
SportJOE.co.uk, is that right? Yeah. And what's your big fancy new title?
Senior football correspondent.
So what's the crack? Are you still covering the Reds, or are you covering the Reds and other stuff? What's the
I think Liverpool will still be a big focus on it. Obviously, I'm based in the city, still have all the contacts, but it's any football story that's worth covering or players that are worth covering. I've got a few interviews lined up that are not Liverpool related, but still, you know, people who have quite interesting backgrounds or have picked up so many different experiences. And I think from a personal point of view, it's good to explore and to write about other things, because that also broadens my perspective on Liverpool as well.
Is right, get onto that. There's already been a good piece from Mel on how Liverpool went about getting Firmino and the scouting that went into that and everything else, so check that out if you haven't already read it. In terms of what's going on then, it is a lead up to an international break, unfortunately, which is crap. But I can't let it go unnoticed that because Liverpool won at the weekend and because of the number of games left now, Everton can't finish above Liverpool again. That's all right, isn't it? And the last time they did was 2013, and I just thought it was worth mentioning because people tell me they enjoy me ripping into Everton virtually every day, and this is another reason to do so. Because does it matter? Is it a trophy? Well, it's not a trophy, no. But does it matter? Yeah, because we're from Liverpool and we want to be better than Everton at everything. So that's football, in the community, ground, scoreboard, kit, pies, whatever you want, really. So the fact that they can't finish above us after they were telling us in the summer that our heads were falling off because of all the money they were spending. Well, my head is sound, lads. My head is absolutely sound, because yet again, you haven't really done anything, have you? Yet again, you sacked your manager and got in a fella who chongs on gravy every day. So sound, you know what I mean? I just had to start with that, really, get that in there. And also as well, any Blues that tell me that this doesn't matter as well. Do you remember, Mel, when, 2004-05, they finished above us in the league and they had T-shirts made? Yeah. Rafa beneath us.
Exactly, well, I don't think anyone's being genuine if they say it doesn't matter, especially if you're from the city, if you live in the city, or even if you're not, even internationally, you know what the Liverpool-Everton dynamic is. And that they peaked in August before a ball was kicked is quite something. And I think what I found most interesting was that so many people were linking spending money with ambition, and that's not spending money without any sort of plan or strategy or, long-term vision isn't ambition. It's a fake sort of ambition, a loose version, or trying to make a statement but without any sort of foundation. And I think that's what they did, and it was worrying that so many people in the media seem to buy into that whole thing as well. Yeah,
and then look where you are now. In 2004-05, Rafa beneath us, we won the European Cup, lads. It was good, wasn't it? All right, on a more serious note now, there's something yesterday in the Manchester Evening News and in the Daily Mail today. I'm not into this. I don't think this is journalism, not journalism that I know and love. And what it is someone put a tweet out, a Liverpool fan made a bit of a graphic, and they put a tweet out, and this tweet basically said, all right, the boys, let's meet the coach when Liverpool play Manchester City in the quarter-finals of the Champions League. Let's sing and shout, let's have pyro, let's have flares, let's make a big deal like we did against Dortmund, like we did against, who else did we do it against?
Villarreal.
Yeah, Villarreal was another one. We done it against City in 13-14 as well. So it's happened a few times.
Tottenham.
Going all the way back to Spurs, yeah, I was just going to say that. So it's happened a few times. It's a show of strength, it's a show of support, it's something the supporters like to do now and again, largely being received very well across the country. I've seen supporters saying, I wish we did things like that, that looks boss. It sets the tone, and what it's done in a lot of those games, it then took the atmosphere inside the ground as well. People have carried that on, and it's been superb inside as well. So I seen this yesterday. Manchester Evening News and the Mail, as I say. Mike Keegan in the Mail today says Manchester City will express concerns to police after it emerged that Liverpool fans are planning a hostile reception for their team coach ahead of next month's Champions League showdown. A poster circulating on social media has urged Liverpool fans to gather on the streets close to Anfield more than 2 hours before kick-off on April the 4th and give Pep Guardiola and his squad a coach greeting. It goes on to mention concerns around bottles and rocks being thrown and all this sort of stuff. There's absolutely no balance in the piece either. I mean, as I say, this is based on someone's tweet. There are fan groups at Liverpool, of course. You've got Spirit of Shanker, you've got the Spy and Cop lads, you've got a fan liaison officer, you've got Tony Barrett there, who's the club supporter liaison man as well. None of these people were spoken to, none of the fan groups were spoken to. It just all seems a little bit of mischief making, and also something I would go as far as to say that seems based on allegiances rather than any duty to report any kind of fact. I find it disappointing. I mean, are we just writing articles in newspapers now on the strength of a tweet, are we? Yeah. So I just thought I'd point it out really as shite journalism. I mean, Mel, you've obviously witnessed some of those greetings of the coaches. There haven't been any great problems, have they? I mean, there were a handful of things thrown. I think Villarreal, I remember a few things, but it was literally a handful of things, and you had thousands of people lying on the streets. Yeah.
I don't think it's right to throw things on a team coach and stuff, obviously, but I think the premise of it is always good intentions. Yeah. You want to inspire your own team, and I think that's worked. You've seen players filming from inside the bus. Alberto Moreno comes to mind. Like really soaking up these things. It bigs up your players. It obviously lets the opposition know that you're up for the game and you're getting your own team up for the game. So in terms of support, it's a really great thing to see. And I mean, if you rewind and go and look, you'll find stories in the papers and digitally bigging up Liverpool. Look at this incredible atmosphere Liverpool created. Watch video of stunning Liverpool welcome for the team coach. So I think
in some of the same newspapers, by the way, as
exactly.
well. Exactly.
I think it's obviously international break now, which means it's a quiet time. So there's a need to go searching for stories that otherwise wouldn't actually be a story. And like you say, the original thing starts from, a fan posting, let's give the team a good welcome. And I think everyone's zoned in on the word hostile when I think what it means, it's let's create an intimidating atmosphere, not a nasty, violent, threatening. It's intimidating in a football supporting sense. And I mean, wherever you go throughout Europe, you get that sort of thing. Home fans will do whatever they want to do to support and encourage their own group.
Welcome to hell and all that when you go to Turkey and all that kind of thing. I mean, they've taken it to an extreme a few times as well. But yeah,
it's in the spirit of a European tie or of a blockbuster game in any sense, because you'd get it domestically too, like we've mentioned before. I know Mike personally, and I think whereas the original story is just based off a tweet, he's obviously gone and spoken to people who have said they'll bring it up with the police. So that's his job, because his editor will say to him, we've got this, you're covering the Manchester clubs, you've got to get us something on this, and that's what he's gone and done. What I draw out of this, though, from City's reaction is they obviously see that as quite an advantage to Liverpool. The fact that there will be this massive welcome, it will set the tone for the tie, because this is, before you even start to think about what happens in the stadium. And I think Louis van Gaal actually said it when it was Liverpool United in the Europa League. He said the match started long before it actually kicked off because of the welcome. It does, it adds to everything. It is a deal. And I think from a Liverpool perspective, it's a very positive thing. And now City are obviously trying to water that down a bit. but I think in a weird way it will have the reverse effect, because supporters are just going to be more encouraged now.
Yeah, I would think so. And also as well, I mean, I think it's worth saying that I mean, it's not, you know, I've been critical of the police many times, and I've done lots of stuff about, you know, poor policing around football matches and stuff. I actually think Merseyside are one of the better forces out there. They get it, and if they've got a problem with welcoming of coaches and stuff, well, they'll make it clear and they'll communicate that, and that's up to them to do that. Not Manchester City, not the Daily Mail, not the Manchester Evening News, and not some journalist who may or may not favour Manchester clubs. Anyway, just wanted to, we all know that Liverpool are scoring lots and lots of goals, and every day it seems there's another set of facts and figures about how boss Liverpool are at scoring goals. I personally enjoy all this, because why not? Big up your own team and all that. And the latest on goals and that is that Salah's 4 goals against Watford put him on 36, as we know. Firmino's now on 23, Mane's on 14, 73 goals between them. And what the Echo have dug out here is the idea of like trios at Liverpool that have scored the most goals in past seasons. And it seems that these 3 are on course to basically be the most successful trio in a single season. And some absolute, you know, quality that they could be outscoring here. I mean, double winning side of 85, 86. Rushy got 33. Mulby got 21. Paul Walsh got 18. So they scored 72 there already out the picture. The current vintage, the Echo say, has already overtaken Suarez, Sturridge and Gerrard. You got 69 and 13, 14. Salah, Firmino and Mane are also on course to beat. They've already gone beyond the last title winning side. Barnes, Rush and Beardsley got 70. And then you're going really far back then. Hunt, St John and Arrowsmith got 74 in 63-64. Evans, Liddell and Anderson did likewise. Leading the way right now is Roger Hunt, St John and Jimmy Melia, 77 goals. But that was the Division 2 title in 61-62. So this current, they need 2 more goals and it'll be a new Liverpool Football Club record for a trio. So that's boss, isn't it? I enjoy all that. I mean, some people go, why are you banging on about the past and why are you talking about, you know, all those years ago? I like it. I like that we've got heritage, to quote Mr. Mourinho. I like the idea that we've had lots of good players, and I like the idea that we've got players now that are scoring more goals than all those lads.
Yeah, I think it's also, we don't, as football supporters, even in the football media, sometimes you don't appreciate things because football never sleeps and there's always the next thing and you're always moving and looking and searching and there's a next game to come, so what happened in the previous game is sort of out of the window. You don't get a chance to really soak things in, and I think stuff like this is good because it actually does make you think, whoa, hang on, what we're witnessing is something very, very special. And I think especially in the current climate of the season, if you're not Manchester City in the league, it feels like, oh, what's the point? But the point is stuff like that. Enjoy it, revel in it, celebrate it, because, I mean, it's not very often you can watch your football club. How many times in a season have we seen 4-0, 4-0s, 3-0, 5-1? Liverpool are doing some ridiculous things, and it's, even if you can't win the title, at least you have 90 minutes where you know you're going to be entertained and you're going to see some really boss players do some really boss things on a football pitch.
Is right, more of that. As we mentioned, international break, so no Liverpool game this weekend, but on Friday, if you're at a loose end and you fancy this one, there's going to be a Q&A with Gary McAllister, hosted by our very own Neil Atkinson. There'll be a sort of mini Anfield wrap at this event as well. There'll be the opportunity to ask questions of Gary Mack yourself, get stuff signed, that kind of thing. What it is it's a celebration of the 25th birthday of the Merseyside Official Supporters Club. They're having a bit of a birthday celebration and a bit of a relaunch. Les Lawson, we know, and he's put a lot of work in to that club over the years. They're trying to breathe some new life into it, get some new members along and that sort of thing. Tony Barrett will be there as well. It says there'll be a welcome by Tony Barrett. Not sure what that involves. There'll also be raffles and other things. It's only £1 in. The Reds Lounge in the Kenny Dalglish stand, Friday 23rd of March, just kicking off at 7:30. Just turn up and pay on the door and get involved with the club, with the Official Supporters Club as well if you fancy it. But as I say, chance to get down there, have a word with Gary Mack about his boss goal in the derby and winning the treble and that kind of thing. It should be good. And as I say, only £1. So if you can get down to that, please do. We'll be back in a second. We'll be talking about the day's newspapers. All right, well, before the newspapers then, I'm just going to give a plug to some stuff that's on the Anfield app today. The review is out there looking in depth as to what Liverpool did right against Watford, what Watford got wrong, what it means to the future, all that sort of stuff. The usual review show that you know and love if you subscribe to the Anfield app. Also out there today is a special on Two Tribes, which is a new book from Tony Evans, recalling the 85-86 season, not only the footy but also the social and political aspect to that, what it was like in the city. Obviously Liverpool and Everton went head to head at that time, both very good sides. I've read a bit of this book, and the bit that I've read was fantastic. Neil's read it all, assures me it's very good as well. Tony's stuff's always really good, so get behind that. Look out for a launch event around that as well, and give that a listen. But in the papers today then, lots of Liverpool stuff again, to be honest, which I'm glad about, because, you know, I said yesterday, he wants to bang on about other teams loads. I can't be arsed. So back page of the Mail today, it's in the Times as well, just that Liverpool will not be selling Mo Salah, even if Real Madrid come calling. I mean, the type of money, without going into even the detail of the report, that this would take, given the number of goals he scored, given the fact that he's got a long-term contract, you're probably only talking, aren't you, 3 clubs in the world that could probably afford it, and that is maybe Madrid, Barcelona and PSG. And you know, he's not going to go after year one, is he? Let's be honest. Yeah. I mean, there'd be riots on the streets.
When you even consider those 3 clubs, I mean, PSG already have to, you know, manage their accounts because they've got to do all sorts of gymnastics following the Neymar and Mbappe deals. You look at Real Madrid and you think more than anyone, they'd probably need somebody like him to refresh and rejuvenate the team. Barcelona are, you know, attack heavy still. They've just recruited Coutinho, and then before him Dembele, so they've also spent a lot. And I think for Mo Salah, he'll also be looking at it and thinking to himself, the reason he's playing so well at Liverpool is obviously his own abilities. He's a phenomenal player. I think, you know, we've gone on about speed and skill, but his strength is remarkable. He's got a tenacity as well, which is quite rare to find. For all his obvious talent, he doesn't give up on things, and I think that's, you know, partly why he's been so successful, but also he's got a supporting cast there willing to do a lot of the defensive work, willing to sacrifice a bit of their own natural game to ensure that he shines, and everything's sort of geared for him to be the main man at Liverpool. And he said it himself recently, the last of, I think, 200 awards that he's won this season already. He said, every single opportunity the team get, they create a chance for me. They know I'm in the mix for the Golden Boot, and all my teammates are doing everything to encourage and help me. So I think he appreciates that. Obviously, given his form, these sorts of stories are going to come up. That the fact that how it's always framed is that bigger clubs will be in for him. You know, clubs that are at a far advanced stage than Liverpool. But even though Liverpool are still in a construction phase, you know, they're not the final it's not all come together completely yet for Jurgen. There's still a few pieces to it. Yeah. But even when you take that into consideration, I mean, look at them this season, the progress in Europe, and, you know, we spoke about it earlier, some of the performances they've put in this season, and it's not one-offs, it's with regularity. It's
across 2 seasons, though.
Yeah. And I think it's quite an exciting time to be at the club. I think we also can't be foolish and think to yourself that, you know, like with Coutinho, if a club that you've always had your eye on comes in for you, you have to consider it. I think the difference is Coutinho gave Liverpool 5 years of service, and so it felt right from all parties. For Coutinho, he felt, I've been here 5 years, I've not won anything, it's time for me to go. It was always going to be Barcelona. The money was really good, and that made sense in the Salah-Liverpool ratio at the moment, or relationship. It doesn't make sense because, it's his first season. The club actually do have a chance of winning silverware, of winning trophies. They're closer than they've ever been. There was obviously the 2 finals in Klopp's first season, which they lost. But when you're looking long term, you're thinking this is a process of getting to the stage.
It's building towards something, isn't it? And you kind of think the players would want to be a part of that. And as you say, Mo's enjoying his football. He's playing football with a smile on his face. He's scoring a shed load of goals. And Liverpool do seem to be going places and do seem in a position now where, come August, you see them flying out the traps and challenging for the title straight away. Whereas, and that's going to be hard, don't get me wrong. It's going to be, you're going to need 90 points plus on the board. But, Liverpool this season potentially could finish on 84. Certainly next season should be aiming for 90 plus, and the further improvements to come as well, as you say, Mel. Keita to come in and that sort of thing. So no surprise for me that it's already coming out that Liverpool are basically going, no, we're not listening, we don't want to know, go away. And I'm sure there'll be loads of showboating from the Spanish giants, like there always is, about we want him, and we're going to pay X and Y. We probably have to go through those sorts of dramas again, but it is what it is.
The other thing is the fee. We all looked at Neymar's fee and thought it was ridiculous, and things have spiraled since then, and every transfer has been sort of affected by that price. But if you look at Salah, you're thinking, well, actually, he could fetch a fee
200 million plus.
that surpasses that, because like with Neymar, he's commercially so viable. He opens you up to emerging markets that every big club wants to attract and wants to be involved in, and like all the other factors that you mentioned, his form, how many years he's got left on his contract, and all these things. You're looking at it and you're thinking, all these stories about clubs being interested in him. I think obviously you're going to watch him and you're going to like him and you're going to be intrigued by him, and he'd improve any forward line in world football because of the characteristics we mentioned earlier, and because of his attitude and his personality. But I don't think it's actually realistic in terms of financially for a club to actually get him.
And there is said to be a good relationship between Liverpool, the club, and Mo Salah's agents, which is always a good start. Also today, there's another interview with Andy Robertson. He's been doing a few lately, but I really like Andrew, and I'm up for bigging him up. What I liked in the interview he's done today, a lot of the stuff that we already know about. He had to give up on his dream with Celtic, ended up working in Marks and Spencer's part-time, playing for Queen's Park, built himself all the way back up, and now he's doing the business for the Reds. But I just like the idea because so many player interviews are vanilla and they don't really say anything, and the media training are a bit boring. I like him because he says something interesting. And what I liked in this one is that he's talking about it. It was put to him that Gary Neville was writing him off and basically saying he wasn't good enough. And he says that after the 3-3 draw at Arsenal, Neville was saying you can't have those players in those games against Barcelona and Real Madrid. They just have to go. Neville later said that Robertson had ended up doing a lot better than he imagined, and Robertson saying, maybe he hadn't seen me play enough, maybe he just thought I was a signing from Hull. I don't know what his thought process was, but it's just one man's opinion, and if he thought I wasn't good enough, no problem. But these are the people I try to prove wrong. You want to make your fans and your family proud, but it's the people who doubt you who motivate you more. I'm quite good at dealing with it. I was confident in my ability that I could get a run of big games and I would build on it. I really like that because a lot of people frown on that kind of thing almost and say, no, you should just ignore it and all this. But actually, if you can use it as a way of motivating yourself, like if people say you can't do it and you go, well, I'll show you that I can then. That's not a bad trait to have, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think, we all know his attitude is completely spot on. And I think when you're a player, you obviously have to deal with so much toxicity from social media and all these things. So when you have former players or even current players or managers or former managers, people who have actually had the experience themselves criticizing you, especially sometimes after, you know, only one performance or based on collectivity, but you are individually singled out when unfairly so, maybe. I think as a player you it's not one of those things, you know, like you say, just ignore it. You can't, because these are people who've gone through it and they should have a greater understanding. Or
I mean, I seem to remember Gary Neville struggling at times, to be fair, so you know what I mean? And look, I know he's only doing his job as a pundit, but, you know, just sometimes, I mean, there has been a debate lately about, you know, that the pundits almost have to be strong, controversial, say something, you know, really having a pop all the time, just because that's what Sky wants, or that's what tabloid newspapers want, or what have you. But I'm just glad that there's players out there going, nah, I'm going to show you. I just want to have a quick go at Charlie Sale. You know, I've always got time for that. Gary Lineker, he points out, he's on a 3 years into a 5-year contract with the BBC. Talking about that, he's, you know, their best paid sports presenter, probably because he's pretty decent at his job. And he's trying to make out there's an issue over Lineker tweeting at the weekend, the game between Leicester and Chelsea. As I'm covering this game, I'll remain impartial. And then he put, actually, fuck that, get in, you beauty, when Vardy scored. I was absolutely fine with it. So was the thousands of people that retweeted it. The idea that this is any kind of problem just because he works for the BBC and he's a presenter, fuck off, Charlie Sale, eh? Do you know what I mean? Do us a favour. And what was the other one? Oh yeah, dead quick. In the Mirror, there's a big, in the Mirror and the Times, in fact, there's a big interview with Rafa. And you just know when there's a big interview with Rafa that there's going to be somewhere a bit of a gem, because what a guy. And what I really liked in this is that he says that when he was 16, he was coaching and playing even at that point. He was making notes on players, which he's still got. And I don't know what he's doing with them. But also he said he started to make databases as well of players. And he says, I used MS-DOS. Then I learned BASIC. And I had a Commodore 64, which was absolutely delighted me. I had a Commodore 64, and like the graphics were absolutely crap. But you know, Microprose Soccer, what a game! Did you have a crap computer, Mel?
No, don't even think we had computers in South Africa back then. But
fair enough. I just love that Rafa's kicking around on a Commodore 64.
What, you were wasting your time on your Commodore 64. You could have been a manager.
I know. Rafa was making databases of players. I was like, I don't know, winning the World Cup on Microprose Soccer, doing banana shots. But you know, such is life. That has been Talking Reds. Thanks, Mel, for coming in today. We'll get you in again. And yeah, we'll do another one of these tomorrow. Nice one.